Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to Heal Your Trauma Drama, the show, and Madeline Standing. Today we're speaking with Dr. Felicia Clark, and Dr. Felicia is meeting us today from Colorado and talking to us about body shaming and the extent that body shaming can affect us in our lives. So she will be joining us here in just a moment. And while she's joining us, I want to take a moment to acknowledge her and her courage for doing the work that she does, and the extent that she does her work is quite amazing in the fact that she's written several books, and Dr. Felicia will speak with us today about these books that she's written. So for the moment, we'll just welcome Dr. Felicia to the show. Dr. Felicia, how are you?
Hi, Madeline. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for being here with us today and talking to us about your books and also how they can factor into creating the kind of shift that we need today for the well-being of not only women, I imagine, but also men, as more commercials and more media is focusing in on the ideal image for men as well. So I don't know how much we'll go into that, but I think it would be really fun to explore all different sides and whatever you're up for. That said, you're joining us from Colorado today, right?
Yes, I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Great. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so well, just for starters, will you tell us a little bit about the book, your first book, and it's on, body shame BS. And I know that the title extends further than that. Will you tell us a little bit about that book that you've written?
Sure. Body Shame BS, 7 Steps to Overcome the Big Business of Low Self-Esteem, pretty much communicates what I saw behind the scenes as a professional model about women, about how women are socialized to hate their bodies because it's done for profit. And they're able to make so much profit because women have already been trained since day one to think that they have to get external validation. And the more you withhold external validation, the more profitable it is.
Right. And can you describe some of it when you say since day one, how this external validation and the enticement for us to buy into this idealized version of our bodies? And I know that it comes for all different places. As a child, my twin sister and I were oftentimes called anorexic. Everyone told us we were too skinny. And I still have a difficult time, gaining. I wish I had my Vanity 5 that I want to gain. So I know it can be equally as challenging for a human being to be told so much emphasis on this is how you need to look externally, and then the over-identification of that and what it causes internally. So will you, for starters, just tell us a little bit about how that messaging shows up in our lives?
Sure. That's something that I call body terrorism. And to understand what body terrorism is think of terrorism itself. It's an act to inspire fear to gain control in order to force you to do something that you wouldn't ordinarily do. Well, body terrorism is the same thing, but just directed at the body. So body terrorism is designed to inspire fear of inadequacy to gain psychological control to get you to buy something or else to accept substandard treatment that you would not normally accept. And the point of body terrorism directed at females is because in a patriarchal culture, males claim the female body. So female body acceptance was always an issue at the forefront of the women's movement, but it always got pushed to the back burner, and it's something that still has not really materialized in society. I believe it's the next step of the women's movement for women to just claim our own bodies.
Mm-hmm.
When
and
we're
that resonates
in service.
With me.
Yeah.
Go ahead. When we're in service, it does resonate with me strongly, and it's interesting because all the subtle ways that point of view that you're talking about how, I can be out going dress shopping or out to dinner, and the subtle messages that I get, and sometimes it's even in languaging that is so strongly geared toward the masculine side, that just showing up and saying, coming into our femininity can be revolutionary. To come into, So tell me a little bit about, when did you get started on this movement? At what point in your studying or learning or career?
Well, that's interesting. As far as a movement, I can't say when there was a start date, but what I can say is that I was raised in a family where my mother, father, and grandmother made it very clear that I am to like my body, and I don't leave that up to other people to validate my body, that it's mine, and I work with what I got, and I treat it well. And if someone has a problem with my body, because I was a larger girl, and I still am, larger than average size, and I always was as a child, who developed very early. And it was just drilled into me that if someone has a problem with your body, let them have their problem. Their problem is not your problem. And I think fending off all the insults that are just constant, I guess you could almost call that part of me being a part of a movement to like my body, but I wasn't intentionally trying to, but you almost have to be radical about it just to accept your body, because every message you get is don't accept it. And I think it's very, very pronounced in most females, as it wasn't for me, the minute my body reached puberty.
Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, to be radical, to really claim your love for your body, that is the counteracting of the strong messaging in the other direction, the body terrorism, as you call it. And because you have this language that you've developed, I mean, you came up with the idea of body terrorism, right?
Well, other people use that term as well, so I can't say I made it up. There are whole circles of women that really fight for body acceptance, and so that term is used. I don't know who coined it, but I did not.
Nice. Okay, but it's a part of one of the titles of your books, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's great. So it resonated with you strongly enough, and you are a large part of that's very poignant, the way that you say that, when you hear me saying movement, you connect to it as it being you personally loving your body. And in and of itself, that's what, if each and every one of us, and for this conversation, we can say women, claim the appreciation of our body, that we act accordingly, we take care of ourselves lovingly, we don't belittle ourselves with language that ridicules or criticizes how we are. That's something, it's a huge, just that alone can send a message that counteracts, exactly what you're saying, to fend off, to say, no, I don't like, I don't like what you're telling me how I should experience my body, so I'm going to experience it how I want. I'm wondering, so I know that there's lots of questions to get to today, and I'm also just curious on a personal level, what are some of the things that you do when you show up in the world to continue to address your appreciation for your body and to fend off, as you say, fend off some of that, the onslaught of messaging from all the different arenas of media, etc. But notice that it's not all media, but some media can buy into this view of telling women to look a certain way. So how do you show up? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting because many of us do feel like the messages come from the media, and maybe that is true because if we watch a lot of television and publications that are mainstream, then we're going to get the same message over and over. But I think the root of the message is in what I call the sisterhood of body shame. So that is in order to fit in as a girl, when you're a young girl, you're expected to self-deprecate. If you have confidence, people think you're arrogant, and they point out every flaw that they think you have until you don't like yourself. Much of the original roots of body shame come from other women, from mothers. Fortunately, my mother was not like that at all. My mother was strikingly beautiful, and she made it very clear that you do not live off of your beauty. You'll get in a lot of trouble. You don't have a perfect life just because you got a good, attractive gene pool. So I never grew up with that whole beauty myth that Naomi Wolf wrote about. So
what is it? It's Naomi Wolf wrote.
Naomi Wolf, the
Naomi Wolf wrote The Beauty Myth.
Yeah, every woman should read that. I think that book is amazing.
Oh,
yes.
Thanks for that. I know what you're talking about as well. It's so refreshing, Dr. Felicia, to hear you say that, to bring awareness to women of all ages, because you're right, it's at a younger age, and I still experience it to this day where I show up feeling happy about who I am. And I mean as a whole person. I don't mean externally. I mean who I am as an individual, the experience I'm having today in my life. I'm feeling good, and it's true that it does irk some people that when a woman is simply happy, that, there are these little jabs that try to bring her back, so to speak, of her, maybe of her humanness or as you're saying, maybe this misperception of being imperfect, which I think at an essence level, we're all perfect on a but on a body level, if we're so, this is one of the questions that I have for you today, is that if we're so focused on the external part of ourselves, what do you notice most in your observation and in your writings, perhaps, that go into your writings and your work with people? What do you notice that takes away from someone if someone is so focused on just the external reality or version of themselves?
It destroys the essence of a woman herself. It destroys the nurturing qualities that we need to show up in the world. It's like kill the woman and save her body. It's kind of you die inside when you become only body parts. And I think that what has happened is every woman has a cave woman instinct where survival and attractiveness are linked. And so that's what gets exploited and exaggerated. What that is if you're a cave woman, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to interact with men. And so a man has to look at you and decide to procreate with you based on your attractiveness in order for the species to survive. So basically, if you're alive right now, you are attractive enough to survive. If you've ever had sex once, you are attractive enough to survive. So this extreme focus on our external physical body is really an exploitation of that cave woman instinct that we fear we won't survive unless we're beautiful enough. It's very manipulated in our culture to keep us in a state of desperation to survive by being prettier.
And Dr. Felicia, you developed a 7-step process for women to learn how to like their bodies. And you call it I Like My Body, a 52-week journal to honor and appreciate my body. What are a couple of the steps that you developed in that process to help women to cultivate what it means to really nurture a natural love for our body?
Right. 80% of women dislike their body in some way, so that means they've been taught to not like their body. That means you can be taught to like your body, and you just reverse the process. And so I use my skills as a professional curriculum designer. I write curriculum for school children, so I have expertise on the way people learn. So I developed a process that women can learn to like their body. And I won't go through all of it because some of it requires a little bit of background information, but I'll share 3 steps. And one of them is to learn the purpose of whatever part of your body that you dislike. So what we learn is the purpose is to be looked at and approved of, but that's not what it's for. Your hair has a purpose that serves you. Your eyes, your nose, your lips, your smile, your teeth, all of that is serving a purpose, and it's on your side, and it's working just fine, whether other people get a thrill off of looking at it or not. So that's one thing. Then you have to find something you like about that part of your body. It could be its biological function. It could be the way it looks. It could be the fact that it helps you stay alive. Whatever it is, just find something and then express gratitude for that and speak it out loud. Mm-hmm. So just those 3 things.
And when you speak it out loud, Dr. Felicia, when you speak it out loud, do you suggest that people do that in front of the mirror or to a good close friend or someone that can hold the space in your family or in your friendships who will hold that space and mirror it back to you, or what do you suggest?
Ideally, it would be spoken in a sister support group, but unfortunately, there's this sort of sisterhood of body shame that you're most likely to encounter. What a lot of women feel is that, well, if you like yourself, you get the edge on me. You know, you'll take something from me. So they want to strike you down to size. Even right now, I experience that because I like my body, and people will say, oh, but you're so heavy. Well, you know, I could be anorexic and I'll like my body. I could gain 100 pounds and I will like my body. My body is serving its purpose. Now, it doesn't mean it looks perfect to you. It may or may not look perfect to me. I don't really care. I think it looks perfect enough, and if you don't like it, then look at somebody else. But I feel very grateful for my body. I've healed my body from illness, and I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for the way that my body communicates with me. I could go on and on. But essentially, in the journal, you would have to decide if it's safe to speak it out loud to other people. And for many women, it's not, and especially for young girls, it is not. They don't get the support that they're looking for. So in that case, in the journal, there's a space where you can create a slogan. You have to say something nice about your body. What we often do is say, oh, I have too much cellulite, you know, I'm too fat. Well, change those words and write a better script, write a better story. And you can write it down for yourself. You can post it on your bathroom mirror. You can record it and play it back to yourself in headphones. And as you get more confident, you'll be able to speak it out loud unapologetically without needing the validation of other people who aren't going to give it to you because they're competing with you.
I really like that because, you know, even if we don't have a sister support group where people will be happy for us that we're embracing our whole being, including our body, regardless of what regardless of critical opinions that we've heard or that we've developed in past. I like that because that we can say it to ourselves, to redevelop a belief, if you will, within ourselves, and then be able to echo that, to show that, and model that new belief to other people, not by necessarily saying, hey, speaking it out loud, hey, I love the contour of my waist, I love the length of my legs, or whatever, but being able to embody that self-care, that self-appreciation in an energetic and internal sense, And then other women will catch on, and it'll break them out of being so super focused on the external to actually be able to move within ourselves and be able to create new dimensions of ourselves outside of merely focused on our external, because that's a trap, like you were saying earlier. To be like dead within is the greatest assault that one could do to themselves. So it is a choice, and if we like our body, it's a lot more than just liking our body, but it's a way to create more freedom within our entire lives. I might have interrupted you. The next step. Okay. Sorry, tell me again.
No,
you have your next step.
Yeah, the steps. Well, the three, like they were separate steps. So learning the purpose is a step in and of itself, and then picking something you like is an actual separate step. Expressing gratitude is a separate step. Writing something positive, a positive slogan for a particular part of your body is a separate step. Those seem like they would go together, but these are the things that we've actually done separately, the reverse of that, to hate our bodies. We feel the purpose of our body is to be looked at and approved of. So right there, separately, you have to deal with that. Another thing is writing a thank you letter to that particular part of your body. The way that the I Like My Body journal is set up, it's designed to be a year. So there's 52 weeks, and every week is a different thing, and it starts from head and goes all the way to toe and to your internal organs, because every part of the female body is under assault. There's some kind of multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from you hating every part of your body.
So it's 52 weeks, and it's called a journal. But is it? I know you said you write a curriculum as well for young. Is it for schoolgirls? Did I hear you correctly on that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And then
the journal you can fill it out on your own if you would like. And then the curriculum part is part of an online coaching program that you have the option of signing up for. So there's a week that says, I like my eyebrows. Well, what if you don't know the purpose of your eyebrows? What if you can't think of reasons to like your eyebrows? What if you think you don't have eyebrow shame and you learn that you actually on some level do? How ridiculous is that? But there's a whole cottage industry of getting your eyebrows the right color, the right shape, hair removal the right way. And these are things women do all the time habitually and not thinking about that it's done in shame. So the online coaching program will give you ideas on how to take care of that part of your body in a way that doesn't harm you, because a lot of times since we do stuff in shame, we harm ourselves just to get into beauty compliance, when that's not good for you and you're destroying the purpose. You're not working with your body when you harm yourself with too many chemicals and things like that. So the curriculum part would be an online coaching program to help you complete your journal. But, you can choose to do that or not. It's just a deeper way of getting into this body, this culture of liking your body. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The body experience for what it is, not what it's supposed to be or what we're told it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it's true, because even the tweezing of the eyebrows, even that in and of itself is significant. For many women, we can probably remember the first time that we ever tweezed our eyebrows and why we tweezed our eyebrows and who told us that we should tweeze our eyebrows. And the painstaking, hour we spent in front of the mirror pulling out each one of those hairs. And it's interesting because we can, as you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that we can tweeze our eyebrows from a place of this is what I actually want and like, or we can do it from this is what I saw in this magazine, this is what looks good on this model or this actor. So therefore, I'm going to do that to my face, which we all know it never works. We go to get our hair cut, and we open up our magazines and we say, I want it just like this actor. And then, as we know, it's never going to look that way. So it's better, I mean, we can approach it like this, and this is a shift that I've done. I've started to just, as I go to the hairdresser, say, this is a version of it, but I want you to more focus on the shape of my face and what would look good, to me specifically. So, have some fun, do what you wish, get creative, and in that, there's so much more freedom and liberation, not only to me to trust and say, here, have some fun and do as you wish, but there's also so much freedom to that individual, that usually that woman who's doing the service, say, I trust you. I want to see what you have to do.
Absolutely. I interviewed several professionals for this project on Body Shame BS, and one of the women I spoke to was Jay Renee, who wrote The Six-Figure Stylist, and she made the point that, stylists are there to provide you a service. They know what they're doing, and yes, you have to communicate with them, but trusting them is really important. They're there to make you feel good, and so many women kind of miss that. They don't go to the beauty salon to feel good. They go to the beauty salon to get into compliance. So if you can come from a place of joy and work with professionals that find joy in helping you find your joy, then it really does help you connect to your body. The other thing I think is very, very important about like the choosing issue, that it hurts. And part of the journal is to make a deliberate, conscious decision to choose or refuse to use that part of your body to express beauty, and to choose or refuse to harm that part of your body. And I don't think we think about that a lot of times. We just, how can I fix it? By any means necessary. Well, sometimes it doesn't need to be fixed. And sometimes there are healthy ways to achieve that objective if you choose to express beauty through that particular part of your body. I refused to tweeze, and as a model, that was very controversial. I took a lot of flack. I shaved my eyebrows because I refused to endure the pain of plucking, and it also destroys the skin underneath. It'll make it sag, quickly, and you get quicker aging from pulling that skin all the time. And I took flack for that, but I refused to do that. But I would still achieve the look, but not that way.
Wow. And what were some of the ways that you stood your ground? What did that look like?
Well, even being a plus-size model during the Thin is In era, that was huge. Also, with men, a lot of men, you have to understand a lot of beauty standards are for control of a woman. It's not really because men aren't attracted to you. They wouldn't be with you if they're not attracted to you. They're drawn to you in some kind of way. So sometimes there'd be men that would try to control me by making me feel insecure. Well, I attract very masculine, classy men that like full-figured women, so I never had to be that kind of pleaser or harm my body to please a man who tried to make me feel insecure about my weight. If he didn't like it, I know plenty of other men who do. So find yourself a skinny woman, and I'll go find myself a man that likes what I've got. And a lot of men like full-figured women. What they complain about is the women don't have enough confidence, and that's the problem. That's unattractive, but not their body itself. But it doesn't mean, whatever body type you have, some men will like it.
It's true. And then part of the engine is that, isn't it? It's ironic that, part of the whole messaging is, not to like your body. And then for the women who do get affected by this adversely, and then their confidence is lowered, that's the real unattracting factor. But to be confident, no matter what your body size, is a fantastic message to send to people. And I want to offer up that Dr. Felicia is available online as a guide, a life coach, and as someone whose books you can read and courses you can take. So it's ebooklifecoach.com, ebooklifecoach.com, and you can see on the right-hand side her online coaching courses there, and making a coaching appointment to the left side of that. Thank you for joining us from Denver today, Dr. Felicia. And you've been listening to Madeline Standing and the Heal Your Trauma Drama Show. And you can learn more at healyourtraumadrama.com. Thanks again, Dr. Felicia.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.